We'll start with the 2013 papers. I want you all to give me answers faster. What is typically associated with a relatively low level of income per capita in a country? So along with a low level of income per capita, what can happen? A high rate of savings, low rate of economic growth, low rate of inflation, low rate of population growth, low rate of employment. Now think guys, this is something that you can definitely think for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka this year in 2022, the per capita income went down. GDP per capita, which was at around $3,700, $3,800, went down to 3,474. Okay. So along with that, what's the other thing that happened? What's the other thing that what is associated with this? It was this, right? Number two, a low rate of economic growth. So you saw in Sri Lanka, not there was a low rate, there was a negative rate. Negative how much? There was a negative economic growth rate of minus 7.8% of GDP. So along with the negative economic growth rate, what happened? The per capita income of the country also came down. So that is your answer. That's the one that is associated. Because think how do you calculate per capita income? Per capita income is your GDP. There was a question, difference between GDP and GNP. I missed that. Yes, what's the difference between GDP and GNP? Gross domestic product and gross national product. Didn't expect that to come from you though. What's the difference? How do you go from GDP to GNP? Net primary income. Remember guys, GNP is also GNI. Yeah? GNI, GNP is the same. Okay, so GDP, right, plus net primary income is GNP or GN. Right? Right. So 42 is done. Then we'll go to 43. A combination of factors which is most likely to generate a more rapid economic growth. Now, this was kind of tested before also. Thing is, now Sri Lanka these days want to make sure there is economic growth. So what should we do? Increase in employment and a balance of payment deficit, increase in the level of investment and the size in the working age population, more equal distribution of wealth and higher levels of transfer payments, more rapid inflation and an increase in national debt, increase in foreign direct investments and an increase in interest rates. What do you think will generate economic growth, guys? Just think, what of this is good for the country? What you can use common sense, even if you don't know economic growth. Think which of this will be good for a country and all, right? So number two, no, increase in the level of investment and the size of the working age population. So if more and more people come from abroad back to Sri Lanka, right? If you can increase investments, economic will grow. So common sense. Yeah. Now, balance of payment deficit here is the wrong one. Higher level of transfer payments. Just because you give more and more transfers, right? Samurdhi and all, there won't be economic growth. That will just increase government expenditure. And increase in national debt, nonsense. That is Mahinda's logic. Then increase in interest rates. No, if you increase interest rates, economic growth will come down because consumption will fall, investment will fall. So use a little bit of common sense, guys. Very easy question. Okay. Then we'll go to 44. This is a good question, guys. 44 says, table below shows, given for a year, the figures for consumption, gross capital formation, and depreciation in 5 countries, namely A, B, C, D, E. Given the state of technology remains unchanged, which country is most likely to experience economic growth? Yes, how do we get the answer? There is consumption, there is gross capital formation, there is depreciation. Yes, for economic growth, what did we theoretically learn? What should increase? For economic growth, what should increase? Theoretically, the productive capacity, right? The productive capacity has to increase, no? That's the theoretical definition for economic growth. Okay, so for you to have economic growth, what should go up? The productive capacity should go up. Can you tell me, for the productive capacity to go up, that means for a country to be able to produce more and more goods, what should be there? For the country to be able to produce more and more goods, there should be capital, right? More and more capital, more investment should happen, no? So buildings, factories, whatever, more investments and capital, right? So for the productive capacity to go up, what should happen? The capital or the investments right, should go up. Now, therefore, when we look at economic growth, guys, this consumption part we can ignore. We don't need. Can you just look at gross capital formation and give an answer? Can you say, okay, this country has gross capital formation of 8,000, and therefore say they will have the one highest economic growth? No, because see, guys, even though they have new capital of 8,000 that is coming in, right? Gross capital formation 8,000, 8,200 of capital has got depreciated. So you ideally have to look at what, guys? You have to look at net capital formation. What is net capital formation? Net capital formation is the new amount of capital that is coming into the country. The gross value minus the depreciation. Now, depreciation is the one that is got old and gone, no? Depreciated. No? So just because country E has 8,000, you can't say 8,000 that country will have the highest economic growth, because even though they have 8,000 new capital formation, 8,200 has got depreciated. So actually their net capital formation is a minus 200. That's bad. So calculate net capital formation and see which country has the highest. Country A, 40 gross, depreciation 50 means net is a minus 10. Country B, gross 200, depreciation 50 means 50. Country C, minus 200. Country D, 0. So what's the country with the highest net capital formation? Net capital means they have formed new capital. All the other countries, A, C, D, and E, they are either 0 or they are negative. So the country with the highest net capital formation is country B, guys. That has to be your answer. Do you get the logic behind that question? If you are to have economic growth, your productive capacity should increase, right? So, okay, listen, why do we ignore consumption? So if the economy has to grow, the productive capacity should increase. Productive capacity is increasing means we focus on investments, right? Not consumption. Productive capacity means country should be able to produce more goods and services. So how is the country being able to produce more goods and services? If they have more and more capital, more and more new investments coming in. Yeah. So then you don't have to look at consumption for this. You have to look at what? Gross capital formation and the net capital formation part. So just because a country E has 8,000 worth of gross capital formation, you can't say country is the highest. Because even though they have 8,000 worth of gross capital formation, 8,200 of depreciation. So their newly formed capital is a minus 200 net. So which country has the highest net? That has to be your answer. Therefore, you go with answer B. How many of you all got that correct? It's a good question. Yes, potential capacity is practically measured with the GDP. Okay, good. Right, 45. Okay, this one is easy, guys. Supply side policies are generally understood to be policies which do what, guys? Very easy one. Unit number 8 also we learn this. Supply side policies improve productivity and reduce market imperfections, enable the government to supply as many goods as possible, reduce the supply of labor in order to minimize the problem of unemployment, reduce inflation, promote aggregate demand. Supply side policies. Yes, supply side policies is to promote aggregate supply. So that means to do what, case? To improve the productivity and also reduce any market imperfection. Now, reduce market imperfections, guys, we have labor market reforms, right? Remember, there are what? Supply side policies, labor market reforms, capital market reforms. What is labor market, capital market reforms? Reforms means changes. Changes means now you don't do a bad change, no. You do a good change, something that will help, right? So answer is number 5. Supply side policy. Then 46. This is also kind of a good question. We'll see. Again, with Gini coefficient and Lorentz curve. Now see, every year there is a question, no? The table below shows the share of total income of different income groups in an economy in 2000 and 2010. Bottom 10% ... is there. Okay, just look at this and tell me, guys, what has happened. Has the income distribution become more equal or unequal? Earlier, bottom 10% got 4.1% of the income. Now they are getting only 2.5%. Earlier top 10 got 20%, now the top 10 is getting 26%. So poor person share has gone down, rich person share has gone up. So what's happened? This is a more unequal, right? The income distribution become more unequal. You can say unequal income distribution. Okay, right? That you have to figure out, guys. Are you all able to figure that out? Fine. By looking at the table for 2010 and 2011, you can see, right, the poor fellow's share has gone down, the rich fellow's shares have gone up, right? I just compare the bottom 10%. You can look at all this, right? See, all these people, poor people have gone down, rich people's ones have gone up. Okay, then we'll look at this case. The bottom income groups experience the fall in their income. Can you say that? Can you say their income has fallen? Do you all see the problem there again? We can't say that their income has fallen, no? We can say that their share of income they get has fallen. Now, let's say we do earlier, right? I'll just give us basic example to explain answer number 1. Let's say earlier, total income of the country is 100. From 100, let's say poor people got 4 let's say 4. So therefore, the share they got is 4%, right? From the 100 total income, poor people got 4 million, let's say 100 million, poor people got 4 million. Now, 10 years later, maybe the total income is 200 of the country. Country has developed, total income is 200. So now from this 200, they are getting 5. So therefore, their share has fallen. I see 4% went to 2.5%. Share fell 4%. Now they are only getting 2.5%. But can you say that their income fell? No. Who was getting 4 million? Now they are getting 5 million. That is what I want you all to be very, you need to properly figure that point out. Just because their share has fallen, you can't say that their income has fallen. Because the share is as a percentage of the total income. Now, with 10 years, obviously the country is grown, guys. Incomes increase with time. No, that's the normal way. No? So you can't say number 1. Then, guys, distribution of income became more unequal. Can you say that? The distribution of income became more unequal. Yes, no, guys. You can see, poor people's share went down, rich people's share went up. So this one you can say, maybe this is the answer. Okay. No, denominator doesn't have to be 100, right? I just gave a basic example. Distribution of wealth has become unequal. Yes, by looking at the total share of income, can you comment on wealth? Wealth is not income, right? Wealth and income is different. Now, for example, if I ask you what is your income, you will say, sir, my father for a month we earn 100,000. That's our income. But if I ask you what is your wealth, right? Now, some people will say, my income, my income is only 20,000. But they have what? They have 10 acres of land somewhere. They have huge amounts of gold in the house, right? Wealth. Wealth is the total that you have, right? Income is what you're earning every month. So remember, now that is another thing, guys. In Sri Lanka, a problem with our tax system. We don't have a wealth tax. We are going to introduce a wealth tax soon, right? I did a report also recently for office. Now we have what? We have income tax. Now income tax is, now think below, guys. Someone who is earning, let's say, now I have my friend, right? This fellow, right? He has done his degree. Now he started, my best friend. He is earning a 320,000 monthly income. Okay. Along with this income, with after income tax and all, he gets only around 250,000. So now this is someone who just started working, and this one. So now you will wonder, he's earning 320, no, so then it's okay, no, sir, charging 70,000 tax from him, no problem. But what about the people who have so much of wealth? They have property, they have gold, acres of land, right? Te vatu kiyai, pol vatu kiyai, you have all of that. Okay, but they are not working, so their monthly income is only 50,000. Monthly income is 50,000, but so much of wealth they have. So then they will say, income 50,000, right? In Sri Lanka, above 100,000, you have to pay taxes. So no tax for this fellow. Now, my friend who studied hard and went to university and got a job and every day is going to work and doing, he is paying 70,000 tax. Now, do you see a problem there? Right? So if you're looking at taxes, just the progressive tax also doesn't make it 100% equitable, because progressive taxes are on income. Now, income tax, no, they charge. So people who are earning higher income, they charge higher amount. Fine, okay, that's fine. But you're missing out on all the people. You're missing out on all the people who have wealth, who are not earning much of an income, but on the wealth. Do you have to pay tax if we start a business and earn more than 100,000? No, that's not on revenue. You pay tax on your profit, not tax on revenue, not a sales tax. If there's a sales tax involved, then that's the thing. Usually, corporate income tax means on the corporate's profits, not on the corporate's revenue. Okay, now, right. So, okay, can you say the distribution of wealth has become unequal? You can't. Now, by looking at the income, you can't talk about the wealth, guys. Wealth is different. Okay. Then everyone became better off because total income increased. You can't conclude that. Maybe it would have increased. Now, they have not said the total income has increased. Maybe, maybe not. Right? So you can't conclude. There's a question mark there. Then Gini coefficient has decreased. What can you tell about this? Gini coefficient has increased, no? More income inequality, right? So no, I as well. We pay taxes for our home and properties, but that's a normal basic assessment tax, right? Which is very inefficient. You pay around 2,000 rupees or 25 rupees, 2,500 per year. So Sri Lanka doesn't have a proper wealth tax, guys. So one of IMF recommendations is from 2025, you have to start a wealth tax. Because starting a wealth tax is not easy, guys. So you have to make a land register, right? You have to register all the properties into one, because otherwise so many people will escape, right? Then you have to value the property. Yeah. So now, for example, let's say a 10 purchase land in somewhere in Anuradhapura and a 10 purchase land in, let's say, in Colombo 7. Value is different. No, you can't say, no, 10 purchase now pay 10,000. It's not fair, right? A 10 purchase land in Anuradhapura and a 10 purchase land in Colombo 7, totally different. So you have to value those lands, you have to register it to the property. So it's not easy. You can't just come up with a property tax tomorrow if you want. So what's happening now is a team from the IMF is coming. Don't worry, it will not be tested. A team from the IMF is coming to Sri Lanka to study about property taxes. So I also kind of did my study on my end. I studied about, team has not come yet. I did my study on what these teams have gone to other countries and done. How does the other countries' property taxes look at? What percentage do they charge? How did they make their land register? That's kind of a report that I wrote on. So that's what is going to happen. So in the next 1.5 years, we will also come up with a property tax system, and from 2025 onwards, we will have to pay a property tax. So on our wealth, now wealth, property is a main part of our wealth, no? Right? So land and all of it, that's there. Isn't it fair when we pay for the property we own by ourselves? So it's like this, right? Now there are so many exemptions all. Now sometimes when you say property tax, they might exclude your first property. Now if this is your house that you are living, they might exclude it. But let's say from your second property onwards, they will tax. So there is different things. That depends on the country. So we don't know what Sri Lanka will come up with. We'll see what they come up with. Because sometimes it's not fair. And guys, you have your own house, you're living there, you're not generating income. Government says, look here, you have a big house, no, give a big tax. Not fair then. So maybe sometimes the government will say, okay, your residential property, we will exempt from the tax. Maybe from your second or third property, you have to pay tax. Those kind of things can come. We don't know. We'll wait and see. So in case you all also work in the econ field by 2025, see what has happened. Okay, right. 46 should be answer number 2 then. 47. Now, which of the following changes would best indicate that a country has experienced development? What is development? A development is, along with economic growth, there has to be qualitative changes, right? Better standard of living, education, right? All of that has to improve. So what can you say, guys? Would best indicate that a country has development? Improvement in the average citizen's quality of life looks okay. Maybe one answer talks about GDP also be better. Increase in real GDP. Increase in real GDP is growth. Along with the increase in GDP, if you have a quality of life increase, that is the perfect answer for development. Improvement in the country's trade balance, no. Appreciation in the currency, no. Increase in adult literacy, no. It's answer number 1, right? So what is development? Where your standard of living, your quality of life and all goes up along with the economic growth. So most correct answer is number 1. 48. Economists have proposed that the best policy to promote development is trade, not aid. Okay. The implication of this proposal is that developing countries should do what, guys? What is this trade, not aid? Think of aid. Aid means grants and all of those. Trade means, trying to promote your exports and, do things like that. So what should these countries, what are they talking about here? Become self-sufficient and not rely on aid. Is that what it means? Are they saying become self-sufficient? That means produce everything that you need in your country. Self-sufficient. We don't want anyone else to give us anything. We will produce everything. Is that what it means? Can you develop like that, guys? If you don't, if Sri Lanka tries to produce everything that we need, right? Try to become self-sufficient. Do you think we can develop? I don't think, right? You can't develop when you become self-sufficient. If you're trying now, if Sri Lanka tries to produce their own motor vehicles, phones, laptops, computers, you try to do all of that, I don't think that will lead in development because we are bad at it, right? Remember, comparative advantage. You can easily buy it from a cheaper country and get it to Sri Lanka. If Sri Lanka goes to, guys, did you all see this? Did you all see that Sri Lanka came up with a car? There was a electricity car. It looks very crappy though, right? Not the Vega 3-wheel, right? I can't remember. Let's see if I can find the car. I can't remember the this one, the Moksha. Okay, this one. Okay, these are Sri Lankan made car. Okay, now look at it. Just look at look at it, guys. The Suzuki Maruti looks better, no? This looks like a toy, no? Just think of the price of this. I can't remember the exact price, but as far as I remember, it was more than somewhere around 4 to 5 million. This is us trying to be self-sufficient. Think, who will pay 4 to 5 million to buy this nonsense, man? That's the problem. Now, why? Because we are not specialized in car manufacturing. So our cost is high, guys. So when we try to become self-sufficient, right now, there are countries like you have India, you have Suzuki Maruti, you have Tata, right? Those countries are producing huge amounts of cars. They are good at it. Toyota, yeah. So they have the comparative advantage for those because they are good at it. So if it's better for us to buy the cars from those people. You can buy a normal Suzuki Alto for 1 million now. Why is it expensive here? Because the goddamn tax, right? A Suzuki Maruti normal one you can buy for 1 million, 1.5 million Sri Lankan rupees. But when you put the tax and 200% tax, 300% tax, then it becomes 5 million. Fine. But see, the Maruti for 1.5 million and this nonsense for 4.5 million doesn't make sense, right? That's why I say, if you want to develop, the strategy is not to become self-sufficient. Becoming self-sufficient doesn't help, guys. Now, this looks like a toy, no, man. I don't know. They can't remember the insides and all of this. There are pictures of this, right? So look at this. Can you proudly drive a car like this? Can you say that, you own a Moksha and drive something like this, man? Think your Tata Nano looks better, no? Problems, right? Yes, we import out things outside, but can okay, think of the boys, guys. Can you proudly say that you're driving one of this? Can't, right? So it won't work, guys. Maybe these things are good now. Our Vega and all are fine, right? Now Vega, that's a different story, right? Now this one is okay, right? The Vega supercar that I don't think will come out of Sri Lanka. No, this is fine, but still the price will be crazy high. That's a different story. But at least this has some quality, no, man. right? And they came up, Vega came up with their own tooks also, right? Electric tooks. Those also are fine, okay. But still price will be high because we are still not specialized in those. So remember, the strategy is not to become self-sufficient, guys. Becoming self-sufficient doesn't really help. Why won't the car be in the market? Probably there could be political pressures and all, and also they don't have enough capacity probably to produce. They don't have the money and investments to keep on producing more and more. That could be a reason. Another reason could be the price could be very high, because producing 5 or 10 cars means, think of the price. If you're producing, you have to produce 1,000, 2,000 cars, no, at least 10,000 cars. Then only economies of scale, price goes down. Maybe producing one car is way too expensive. No one would buy. Not easy. Okay, right. Then guys, be given greater access to markets in developed countries. What is this now? Greater access to markets. So that looks like trade. Okay, fine, right? Give greater access, right? Go and sell goods in those countries. Okay, safe. Okay, we'll leave this. Use foreign aid to invest in export industries. No, they are saying no, trade, not aid. So not foreign aid. Use trade barriers. Trade barriers means you're putting protectionism and quotas and stuff. That is not the way to develop. Promote development by achieving a surplus in the trade balance. What do you think? Not really again, no. This answer is a little tricky, guys. Okay. Now just think Sri Lanka. How did Sri Lanka develop, guys? Now look at Sri Lanka's trade. Where is our trade going? To all the developed countries, like our biggest export market, USA. Then we have all the European Union countries. Right? So all our trade, our exports are going for these developed countries, no? So what they are saying, to give better access for these developed countries. So if we can now, for US and all, what are we exporting? We're exporting garments. But what if we can export something else also to them? Broaden the access. What if we can export, let's say, rubber also to them? Right? Things like that. That's what they're talking about. It's a little bit of a old paper, so don't worry too much, right? So that is what this trade, not aid, means. Is that okay? And give broader access to these developed countries, and somehow improve your trade. That's what it. Okay, right. Last 2 questions, and then I'll give you a break. Okay, easy question, right? Again, repeated over and over again. Total population 10 years and over. Remember, these are working age population, employed, unemployed, population not economically active. Based on the above information, what is the answer that shows the employment and the labor force participation rate? Okay. Sorry, unemployed. How do you find the unemployment rate? Unemployment rate is the unemployed population divided by the labor force into 100. So how much is unemployed? 9. How much is the labor force, guys? Now see, in this question, they have not directly given us the labor force. But I told you there is a way to calculate this. How do you get the labor force? Labor force is only employed and unemployed people, no? So how much is the 81 plus 9, labor force is a 90. So 9 over 90 into 100, how much is our unemployment rate, Lamai? Unemployment rate is 100, anyway, 10%. Yes, or you can, from the population from 150, you can minus 60 also. That's also correct. Okay, to get the 90. Then guess how much is your labor force participation rate? How do you get that? Labor force participation rate is labor force divided by the working age population. So labor force they are saying is we got it as 90. How much is our working age population? Will the recording of this class be available? I don't know when I will be making it available, but at one point I'll put it onto YouTube, but I can't say that I'll do it today because I have not even uploaded the before one. How much is your working age population, guys? 150, right? So, or you can say here employed plus the active plus the inactive. Okay, 150. So then how much do you get? That's here, 60%. Yeah. Now, so what's our answer then? 10 and 60. Can you see? These are very easy questions. Every year they ask one of this. So see, now every year there is a question from labor. Every year there is a question from Gini coefficient, Lorentz curve. Every year there is some question about economic growth and development. See, you get the pattern now, no? Okay, last question. in a given country, both employment and unemployment rose over a period of 10 years. This situation must have been produced by the increase in what? Over a period of 10 years. Birth rate, economically active population, increase in what? Increase in the birth rate, increase in the economically active population, increase in life expectancy, increase in dependency, increase in outward migration. So, are they saying that the both employment and unemployment rate increase? No. They are saying the population increase. Let's say in 2010, employed, let's say there were, let's say we do 5 million. Okay. Unemployed, let's say there were 1 million. Now, in 10 years later, 2020, employed, let's say 6 million, unemployed 1.2 million. That is what has happened. So how can this go up? So this would have gone up, right? Both the employed and the unemployed would have gone up if either the labor force has increased. See if there is an answer that says that the labor force has increased. Now, if the labor force has increased, some of them would have been employed, some of them would have been unemployed. So both of those would have gone up. There is no answer that says labor force increased. Is there? Think as earlier, now practically think earlier labor force is 6 million. So from that, from this 6 million, 5 were employed, 1 were unemployed. So now if this has to go up, that means now you have a labor force of 7.2 million, right? So what's another name for labor force? Another name for labor force is economically active population. I told this to you all, 2011 question. So there would have been an increase in the economically active population. Given that there was an increase in the economically active population, employment also went up, unemployment also went up. So earlier 5 million, now 6 million. Earlier 1 million, now 1.2 million. Is that clear? Fine. Okay. Questions, problems, issues? Okay. Right. That. See how much do you all get out of how many questions? There is 8, 40, 42 onwards. So that means there were 8 questions. No? Can't you say increase in life expectancy? So life expectancy means people are living for more years. But just because people are living for more years, can you say that the employment and unemployment rates went up? People went up. So these are old people, right? Old people are anyway not part of the labor force. 9 questions, no? 42 to 50. Okay. So correct and see how much do you all actually get. Right. So 2013 is done.